remember being a student in your seat for chapel here at Vanguard when I was a student years ago, and my feelings were one of two things. How many more chapels do I have to go to? Or how many more do I have to go to so I don't have to go to anymore? My hope is, and obviously I come with a different perspective today than I was when I was a student at Vanguard. My hope and perspective for you is that when you come to these gathering moments throughout your week, whether you're able to make all of the chapel experiences happen or not, that when you do, you recognize the power that happens, that God indwells this place. I mean, those songs are just so beautiful. I'm really, really grateful for the worship team and how they led us. And there's a harmonica on stage. I mean, how cool is that? So awesome. My name is Brenton, by the way. I teach here as an adjunct part-time. A few of you are in my class, perhaps. Maybe you didn't show up because we've already had class this week. I feel you. But it's good to be with you. That's part of my life. The rest of my life, during the week, I get to lead a church up in the city of Orange, just a few miles away. Planted a new church a few months ago. It's been an experience for me, trusting God. All the things those songs talked about, trusting God with my life, and when the fears overtake me, what's the voice that I listen to? And I just love the opportunity to step into people's lives and celebrate moments with them and to grieve with them, and that is the beauty of the church. So many of you have had those experiences growing up. You have those experiences now, the churches that you go to that you're a part of. The beautiful thing about Vanguard is that it is also a place that you get to explore how is God directing your path, what is He setting you up for the rest of your life. And I think one of the coolest ways to do that is to actually get involved in a local church. And there is actually already a vehicle and an engine at play here at Vanguard that you can step into, a thing called an internship. How many of you like money? Forget internship talk. Let's just talk money. How many of you like money? Don't lie. You're college students. You're trying to beg, borrow, and steal as much as you can. I know you. I know you're... Please. I know you. If you want money, how about you sign up for an internship? How about that? That'll be the connection I'll make. No, the spiritual formation department, just giving you kind of a last heads up. I know those folks. I love them. I've worked with them before, and actually the church that I lead has benefited from an internship by students from Vanguard. And so if you are interested in participating in spring internships, this is like my quick, little commercial. The due date to get your internship application in is this Sunday night. Why Sunday night? I don't know, it's the day after Halloween. Who knows? But it's Sunday night. By midnight, get your application in, slide it under the door. I don't know how you cloak and dagger it, somehow get into the spiritual formation department. I mean, can you really break into the spiritual formation department? Maybe. I mean, do you go to hell if you do that? I don't know. Anyways, get your application in because they are looking at your applications for next semester. So your spring semester internships are available. If you want to come, even just apply to work at our church, we would love to have you. I want to walk through some scripture with you this morning and give you some thoughts that have been swimming around in my head. And so we're going to walk through a portion of scripture that I give to my classes here at Vanguard to dwell on for 1 week of their semester with me. And it's Acts chapter 2, verses 42 through 47. The words are going to be on the screen. I want to read them with you and then give you some thoughts about what is being said. And so Acts chapter 2, here's how it started. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. All the believers were together and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. Every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. I asked the students in my class to dwell on that passage. It was a couple weeks ago when it was due. And I love the comments and thoughts that come back from students in your shoes who say things like, that's such a beautiful image of community, such a beautiful image of what the church should be like. And I completely agree. Wouldn't it be great to go back to that kind of a place and be like, yes, I want to have that sense of community in my life, that we care about one another and we do things differently, and people are added to our numbers because of the power, not because we're guilt-tripped into heaven, or our thoughts about church are different because you just got saved one day and you have to come now to please your mom. What's the point of church? What's the point of the things that we do? What's even the point of the gatherings that you have here at Vanguard? One of the requirements I have in my class is that you have to meet with me outside of class for at least like 20 minutes. Most of the time it happens in Starbucks. That's my office. It's really fun. And I meet with a student. I ask every student 5 questions. Here are the 5 questions. Those of you who haven't met with me yet and you still want to meet with me. Where were you born? Hopefully you know that. Where'd you grow up? What's your family like? What's your God story? And why Vanguard? The why Vanguard question is always helpful for me to understand how is it that you got here. And I hear all kinds of stories. And what is always astounding to me for those of you who are here for the first year and even those of you who I've had, it's been your second, third, or fourth year, and you've been in my class and you've told me, I absolutely love Vanguard because of the community that exists here, which is so true. I mean, I have such fond memories of community. I remember, like I said, the chapel moments. Anybody ever been on chapel probation? Just a fun thought. No? Who's going to admit that in chapel? All those people are not here. Yes. That was my wife. My wife was a chapel probation person. I'm surprised I still married her. Like she had that little seedy part of her past, and I let that go and said, okay, I'll marry you. But community is so important to what happens at Vanguard, and community is so important to the kingdom of heaven. And what I try to do in terms of leading the new congregation, that new church that I lead up in Orange, is express to them this idea that we do things differently because of the way that God has impacted our lives. We are blessed to be a blessing. I talk about that a lot, about the unity and the community that happens. And the images that get expressed in Acts chapter 2, Luke is writing. And you remember Luke is telling a story to a friend of his. He's writing this down to his friend Theophilus. We were told that in chapter 1. But he's telling the story in chapter 2. He's like, here's what the apostles did after Jesus was gone. After he rose from the grave, he's ascended to heaven. Here's what they devoted themselves to. And he lists off all kinds of these activities that we just read. And you're like, that just sounds so good. I would love to be a part of a church like that. I would too. But interesting how community shows up in my life in all kinds of ways. And I'm going to give you 3 images that community has impacted me recently in the past few weeks. The first image I'm going to give you is of a kettlebell. It doesn't topple the computer. The second image of community is a picture of Ed Sheeran. Right? Is that cool? And then third picture of community is a lift card. Right there. So how do all these connect to community? Let me start with the story. Ed Sheeran, let's start with that one. Why Ed Sheeran? I have, in my life as a pastor and a minister, I also get to participate in weddings with people. And this past month of October alone, I have done 4 weddings. Had I been in town this past weekend, I would have went to a funeral and would have lived up to that Hugh Grant movie, 4 Weddings and a Funeral. That didn't go so well. Okay. Yeah, 4 weddings. I love all these people involved. I love the couples and just wanted to participate, and they were near and far, and sometimes I had to drive and whatnot. But I know almost every lyric now to Ed Sheeran's song "Thinking Out Loud." Like I can, yeah, you know. I've been loving you till we're 70, which sounds like 17, by the way. It's probably his accent. But this idea of weddings has been fun for me. Ed Sheeran sings at all of them. My friend Tim came in from Australia. He's here with me today. He's just a deep friend, and came and participated in one of my weddings, and he got to sing this song live, probably because he has an Australian accent. He's just cool. You'd rather listen to him than me. Meet him afterwards. He's awesome. So, anyways, Ed Sheeran was often played at the weddings that I go to. And the weddings are fun and stuff. You got food to eat. You got watch this thing happen, and people love the event. They love to get dressed up. My kids love weddings. They've only been to a few, but they went to this last one with me last weekend. And my daughter, who's 5, she's the life of the party. She's that girl, right? That girl who I'm going to be worried about in high school. Like, she doesn't want to leave the dance floor. Like, I'm pulling her. We got to go. It's way past your bedtime. It's like 11 p.m. You normally sleep at 7:30. It's like, just one more song, Daddy. Fine, say daddy, whatever. So we're just dancing it up, having a great time. They're loving it. Oh, this is the best party ever. The thing about weddings, though, it's interesting to watch families come together for a wedding. Sometimes weddings bring out the junk of families. And I've been able to have a front row seat to watch some of that happen, and even my closest friends who are getting married, that there's always some faction within the family that's not happy about the wedding. Oftentimes, they're not necessarily angry with the couple themselves. They're just angry with how the details of the wedding happened. And the wedding I went to recently, the mother of the groom was just not happy. The wedding didn't happen in the location that she wanted. The wedding didn't happen the way that she wanted, and the seating arrangements for the party was not how she wanted it. And she was ticked. I remember talking to the groom, and I don't know him that well, nor his family, but he's trying to describe his mother to me, and he's like, she's such a hardcore Christian that she just like hates people sometimes. I was like, I don't even know what to do with that. Which is a sad thing to think, that the world thinks of Christians as people who are so Christian that we just hate you. And there's other issues at play in this wedding, and if we had a lot of time, maybe I can meet you for coffee and tell you more about it. But just interesting to see what happens at a wedding. But my thought in that moment when he told me that, I was like, I think we're missing the point as Christians sometimes if that's the way the world sees us. Wouldn't you rather the world see what Acts chapter 2 talks about? Oh, that would be so good, right? All right, my next image of community is this idea of a Lyft card. And the only reason I have this is because I became a Lyft driver. Right now you're thinking, wow. Things are that bad. I did this. It's harder to become a Lyft driver than it is to become a Christian. It's amazing. They had to check my car out, make sure it was right. I had to do an interview. They had to take pictures. I had to submit my insurance, made sure I had insurance. I have insurance. And they take pictures of me. They take pictures of my ID and all this stuff. And then finally I got the coveted card that goes in my placard when I become a Lyft driver. And it's not because Vanguard doesn't pay me amazingly for it being an adjunct. I don't know, take note of that. I don't know what you want to do with that. But I became a Lyft driver, and it's not necessarily for the money. It's for the sociological experiment. And I became a Lyft driver over a month ago, and I've driven, 17, 18 rides so far. And it's been a fascinating look at sociology, just watching people. The funny thing to me is that it's interesting to know what it does to my soul to consider other people who come into my car. Right? Go with me on this. You're okay with letting your friends in your car. What do you do with strangers? That's an interesting thing, to let strangers in your car who you don't know what they're going to do in your car. You're worried that they may throw up. Maybe. There was one guy, wow. He was even saying, he's like, I might throw up. I'm like, great. Can I let you out here? I don't know what you think about me right now as a Lyft driver. Maybe you can call me up. You find yourself in the city of Orange, pop up Lyft, and maybe I'll be your driver. But the conversation has always been the same with every single Lyft driver. Hey, how long you been driving for Lyft? It's always fun, today's my first day. And they're like, no, what? But how long you been driving for Lyft, and is this all that you do? That's a fun one. Really, do you want to know what I do? And so sometimes I tell them, yeah, I'm a Lyft driver. Don't do that all the time, but I also teach at a university down the way. What university? Vanguard. Oh, cool. And I'm also a pastor. And real quickly, you know if they want to go any further or not, depending on if they're going to a bar or not. And you're right now thinking, why are you helping people get to a bar? Just helping people, make sure they don't drive home drunk, whatever. But it's interesting involving myself in their life to the fact of, will I involve them and let them into my space? Because it seems to me what Acts chapter 2 is talking about is a group of people who got together and invited people into their space. And sometimes as a Christian, I have been really quick to put my arms up and keep people at distance. Because, I've got my safe place. Don't come any closer. But if you step into my car, that's like my personal space. And to engage people, and I got to tell you, my capacity for awareness for strangers has gone up exponentially because I became a Lyft driver. Because now I'm aware of people that I don't know, they could be right in my car. My wife has all kinds of concerns, what What if like something doesn't like say, I mean, I'm pretty sure I helped a drug run the other day. I don't know. It was weird. I didn't know all the details, but I didn't ask. Just, they paid, whatever. But I'm a Lyft driver. So I have a concept now for people around me who are strangers, and I think that's what Jesus is inviting us into. When you consider his kingdom and our ability to bring good news into it, am I aware of the people around me who I don't even know? I mean, just do a quick survey. Are the people that you hang out with only the people that you know? Or are you ever involved in people that are strangers to you, and will you invite them into a bigger and better story? That's my big concept and an idea for this idea of Lyft. And don't take this as like, go become a Lyft driver today. That would probably be a bad correlation. What are the ways in your life, what are the areas in your life that you are able to have a concept for strangers so that you're interested, much like the apostles and the believers were those days, say, come hear a better story. You got to remember, Luke, who's telling the story to Theophilus, is like, hey, the Roman Empire may be in charge and they may be doing things the way they want to do things, but we're telling a different story. So come join us. And whatever night of the week it was, like, come on a Thursday night, come on Saturday morning. We're going to break bread and we're going to tell different kinds of stories. Because the story that you hear out in public is that Caesar is Lord, but we're going to tell a different story. Come and see. And I think people are still intrigued by Jesus. And let us invite them into a bigger and a better story to what's going on. And finally, a kettlebell. Why a kettlebell? Well, a couple years ago, I joined a cult called CrossFit. It's been really good for me. It's been a lot of fun as well, a lot of hard work. I hate CrossFit when I go, and I love it when I leave. It's amazing. Like, if finally I'm done, I can go home. I sweated so much. It's interesting about CrossFit, though. I've been kind of talking to my friend Sean, who's even here this morning. We get to serve as pastors at this church in Orange, and we dwell on this concept of CrossFit is a beautiful image of what the church should be like. Because in the 2 CrossFit gyms that I've been a member at, I've been completely accepted regardless of my abilities. They completely welcome me in and want me to experience what it is that they do in this CrossFit place. I'm not an expert at all things. I think there's maybe like one movement that I can hang with, but everything else, I am not good. I'm not good. My current coach is a guy named Brady. Brady, I'd say maybe 2 months ago, we were working out, and I had missed about a week, and when you miss a week, they know. They talk to you like, hey, how's it going? What have you been eating? Like, I went on a road trip this week, and road trips are terrible for like junk food. Like, I just need sugar. Like, just give me Skittles. Skittles. But I feel guilty when I go to CrossFit, and CrossFit, like, you work out really hard, all stuff. But Brady, a couple months ago, we were doing this workout and movements that I'm not great at. Like, I mean, this is Olympic lifting. This is weird stuff. Sometimes you're like, can the body even do that? No, it can't, but we're going to make you. It'll be fun. There's a group of us, so it's cool. And Brady was calling out this movement, and he goes, come on, Marge, you can do it. I was like, Brady, like, you are normally a very encouraging guy, but you're calling me Marge? Like, what is going on? Like, how did you fail it? Like, did something go on with you? And he says it again, something about Marge, and I look over, I'm like, Brady, like, dude, like, am I not doing this right? Like, really worried. And he's like, no, her name is Marge. I look over, and Marge is like 78 years old. Because nobody who's 10 is named Marge, by the way. 78-year-old Marge is doing CrossFit, and she's doing the movements that I'm doing, albeit scaled. But she's still getting it done, and Brady's encouraging her. I thought he was shaming me. My low self-esteem moment. Like, don't you like me? Please like me. Come on, Marge. And Marge was getting it done. And the beautiful thing about CrossFit is everybody can come. And regardless of the workout of the day, they are going to scale it according to your abilities. Because like I said, I can show up days and I can't do things as well. There's a 17-year-old kid doing our CrossFit workout yesterday, and I just hate him because he's so good. Zach, that guy. Like, he's so fast on the assault bike. Ugh. Those are my issues. And again, the beautiful thing about CrossFit, everyone is welcome. We'll scale the workout to make sure you succeed. and everybody in your class wants you to finish. Like there have been classes I have been the last to finish, and the rest of the class doesn't leave. They stay and wait for me to cross the finish line. And there have been classes where I finish early and there's a few people left, and we stay. We go out to wherever it is, whatever the movement is, whatever the workout is, and you're waiting for them to come and finish. I just think that's such a beautiful image of community. Don't you agree? Like, shouldn't the church be this place where everyone is welcome? Regardless of your place with Jesus, we're going to help you get better. And we're going to be here to make sure that you succeed. I'm like, oh, that would be so good. Could you imagine a day when the church looks like that? So when it comes to this idea of community, and we read Acts chapter 2, and we're overwhelmed by what Luke describes, and we're like, it'll never be that way. I live in a place of I hope, and I think it is. I think it's coming to this place where there's a generation who's coming with me and behind me, like you, who are making places for people in the kingdom in creative ways. So perhaps you've had your Ed Sheeran moments where you've been really depressed with the way people describe Christians as, you're such a Christian, you just hate people. That's not it. Or perhaps you have your Lyft driver experience where your capacity for awareness of strangers is becoming greater because you are putting yourself in places where you have eyes to see, rather than just closing yourself off to, I'm just going to be in my cool Christian club. I'm going to go to chapel, and that's it. But God is wanting to put your head up, let your vantage point of the horizon rise, and to see his world with the eyes that he saw it with, so that you invite people into a better story, and to perhaps even consider the beauty of a church that you get to help create and make, where everyone is welcome. You make sure that everyone has an entry point with Jesus, and you help people succeed. You get them across the finish line, and the crowd goes wild. I can't wait for that to still happen in your day, because God is calling you. You are Vanguard students. I don't know where you are at even with Jesus today. Some of you have come to chapel to check it off your list. But my hope is that you do not miss what God is doing to you while you are at 55 Fair Drive. This is a powerful piece of property, not in its expanse geopolitically, but what God does here with students and for students is amazing. But he is prepping you to go out to a world, to change it drastically, to invite people into a better and a bigger story of God's kingdom. It is not just about telling people what they sin and saying, you need to get forgiveness. You are inviting people into a story that says, oh, let me tell you about this Jesus. Come and join me on a Thursday night, on a Sunday morning, on a Tuesday, whatever. And we're going to break bread. We're going to tell stories about Jesus. And your life has the capacity to be changed forever. I think people are still interested in that. And you and I bear that responsibility to do community well so that the world knows what Jesus is all about and that the world is changed. Would you agree? I'm going to pray for you this morning. Jesus, before me are amazing students at Vanguard, not because of anything that they have done, simply in the fact that you have created them. That in itself is amazing. And you have created them with purpose. For the student who has shown up this morning wondering if their life matters, may you speak to their soul. To the student who is overwhelmed with thoughts of anxiety and depression, may you meet them. May the voice that they listen to be true and good this morning. May our fears be alleviated in the midst of your presence. And may we be drawn to a sense of community where it just sounds and tastes and feels better than sometimes what we have watched in the world. May we be a part of churches, may we be a part of communities that are changing the world because of your kingdom. The ways that you have challenged us, the ways that you have met us, may that impact those around us. May we have eyes to see strangers in our life, and may we have the capacity to offer the forgiveness that you so freely give, the forgiveness that has changed our life. And we cannot wait to see what the world becomes, because you have called us and you are using us, and we are simply amazed. It's in your name we pray. Amen. Peace be with you.
At Vanguard University, your story matters. Where will it take you next? For more information, please visit vanguard.edu.